Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session, Teams Provisioning Templates and Approval Flows, new in SysKit Point. My name is Patrick, and I'm Sales Manager here at SysKit. Joining me today are Alexandra, our Product Designer, and Harvey, our Product Development Lead. Today we are going to show you how you can avoid content sprawl and proactively apply governance policies from the beginning of the workspace lifecycle with provisioning templates. We will also give you a glimpse into a few other improvements and the new Azure deployment for SysKit Point. For those who don't know about SysKit, we are a software development company with over 11 years of experience on the market. We develop products for Office 365 governance as well as administration and monitoring solutions for SharePoint on-premise. SysKit currently has more than 3,000 customers in over 75 countries worldwide, and some of them are very famous names, as you can see on our slide. We currently have 5 products, including our award-winning SPDoc kit for on-prem documentation, and of course, SysKit Point for Office 365 governance and security. For those that are new to the tool, SysKit Point is a comprehensive Microsoft 365 governance solution created for admins and business users to easily govern their workspaces from a single pane of glass. This includes Microsoft 365 inventory, access reporting, governance policy enforcement, complete lifecycle management, analytics and usage metrics, proactive security, alerting, and more. Now, a reminder that all registrants will receive a recording of the session within a few days. If you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature in GoToWebinar anytime during the session, and we will be happy to answer them. Let's jump right into the presentation. Alexandra and Harvey, are you ready?
Yes, Patrick, thank you so much for the introduction. So as Patrick already told you, my name is Alexandra and I work as a product designer here at SysKit, and I'm really excited to be here today to show you what we have done in our latest update of SysKit Point. I'm also really grateful that we did so with a great help from our users, of whom some are here today with us, and we truly do take great pride in listening to you guys. So please continue talking with us, sharing your feedback so we can truly make this product the best we can together.
Hi, I'm Harvey. I'm a product development lead here at SysKit, and I'm really excited to be here with you today to show you what the team has been working on hard for the last couple of months. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So first of all, I would like to tell you a bit about what we're going to talk about you today. And what's our plan. So the first thing that we're going to tackle is our migration to Azure Cloud App. So SysKit Point is no longer a desktop application, so you do not install it on a Windows server or something similar like that. Now you deploy it to your Azure subscription. I'm going to talk a bit about why we did that and how it makes life for our users more easy. Then Alexandra will tell you a bit about access reviews, why they're important for your organization, and how can you use SysKit Point to leverage for helping you doing access reviews. And the last but not the least is our provisioning. So we've added provisioning to our SysKit Point solution in this version 20 update. And then we're going to talk a bit about why it's important to have a provisioning setup and how can SysKit Point help you with that. So let's jump into the big news. So SysKit has gone to Azure Cloud. So before you had to install the application on either a virtual machine that you have on premise or in Azure, and then you had to get a SQL server, and then you had to get all these different permission certificates. From now on, that's no longer necessary. So we decided to port our application to the cloud. One of the reasons is that we at SysKit try to make the life for our users easier. So we try really hard to make our application be easy to use, but we noticed that sometimes it's not easy to try out our application. And this move to cloud is one of these things that may help our users try out application more easily, because I'm going to show it later on in a demo. And the new deployment model is really simple, and you can have it up and running in less than 10 minutes if you have an Azure subscription. Here on the right-hand side, you can see our architecture for our application, and you can notice that we are using all the standard Azure resources. So, and the thing that we tried the hardest around is the security of our infrastructure. So it's fully secured in an Azure environment using Azure Active Directory and a lot of this private link technology. We at SysKit, from the beginning of when we tried to create the SysKit Point, we put emphasis on the thing that our users are controlling their own data. We had a desktop application where users were storing their data, their sensitive data inside of their own environment. And we are still maintaining that emphasis. So all the data that SysKit Point is going to use is going to be living in the Azure subscription of our customers. So SysKit does not have any kind of access to your data. So it's safely stored in your Azure subscription. What it actually means is that the SysKit Point is not going over to the software as a service model. So we are still not there, but we are giving opportunity for our users to just deploy to their Azure subscription and be stored there safely. What we also gather as a feedback from our customers in the past was that our update experience can be sometimes a bit difficult. So usually you need to uninstall the previous version, then install a new version, then then run the configuration wizard, during which you had to provide a global administrator account, so everything will work fine. In this new version, in this new architecture, we are trying to make that process much more simple. So you're going to be able to go to one link, you're going to start the update process. It's going to take, in the worst case scenario, 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're going to have the application up and running. So we do not foresee need for the global administrator account to be present during the update. So we made it more easy for our customers. And speaking of updates, in this new version, we are not leaving our on-premises our customers behind. So we fully support migration from the old versions that were running on the on-premises environment to this new cloud environment. So if you have an old version of our software and would like to jump into version 20, you just get in contact with your customer success manager or our support, and then we're going to give you details and arrange calls to help you migrate your data from the on-premise to on-cloud. And the last thing that I want to talk to you about is why we did this switch from the on-premise to the cloud. Well, it's going to allow us to give our users more engaging ways to use the application. So in this version 20 of SysKit Point, we've introduced Microsoft Teams companion app, and it's the direct consequences of us going to the Azure cloud as an application. Because before that, we were not able to build such a experiences for our users. So going forward, this is going to allow us different options that we are looking to try out and give users our better experience. So let's jump into that demo that I promised to see how easy it is to deploy this solution to your Azure subscription. So here I am in my portal. I'm going to create SysKit Point as I would create any other any other Azure resources. So I'm going to just search for SysKit Point here. So we are looking, so it's currently here in my private offers, but it's going to be live hopefully sometimes next week. So if I go here to SysKit Point, I'm going to get an idea of what the solution is. So I get a screenshots, I get a description on the solution, and I just click here, create. And that's basically it. No, it's not. We still need to configure a couple of information. I promise you it's nothing too much. So the first thing that I need to do, I need to give it a resource group. So I have a webinar July, and then I need to give it a region. Let's use West Europe today. And this is particularly important for our customers that need to have data stored somewhere specifically geographically. So if you need to have it in West Europe or Germany or something like that, you can just put it there, and all the data is going to live inside of that data center. Then we go into web application settings, and then here you need to input just one thing. It's a unique website name, so it's where your application is going to live at. I'm just going to here use SysKit webinar July. It's not that important. And then you can specify your preferred application time zone, so you can specify whatever you want. I'm going to just leave it as GMT. And then you can specify the strength of the Azure's resources here. We have documentation on our recommendations, and you can see it here in this info tab. It's based on the number of users you have inside of your environment. So the more users you have, the more resources you're going to need to run our application. But I'm going to leave here small. And then I'm going to here is the only thing that you need to remember from this deployment part is the SQL password. So if I try to input something like, I'm going to get a validation that is telling me I need to use a better password. But that's basically it. I just click here, review and create. Okay, I cannot because I did not fill out my password, but I would just click create in the next 10 minutes. I will have my solution up and running. So this is, I would say, a much easier way to deploy SysKit Point than going over and creating a virtual machine and then creating a SQL account and stuff like that. So this is the new way you're going to be able to install SysKit Point inside of your own environment. Patrick, do we maybe have any questions around this part now?
Yeah, we have a question from Roger. So yeah, just to clarify, as I believe it was clear now with your presentation, that if now the SysKit is in the cloud, then the customer has basically to pay the storage generated by the SysKit Point, and he asked if that would be the correct answer.
Yes, that would be correct. It's in the customer's Azure, so the costs are also on the customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the benefit of this approach is that basically the customer hosts all the data and
yes, and we do not have any kind of access from the SysKit to that data.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. That's all.
Okay, that's all. If that's all, I'm gonna hand it over to Alexandra to tell you a bit about access reviews. Alexandra, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Can we just go back to our presentation? And let's move on to the additional functionalities we added in version 20. We do have a few minor improvements, but I'll only talk about the one that we performed on our existing feature called access reviews. But before we do so, let me just briefly remind you what is the purpose of using this feature at all. So the main idea of having regular access reviews is to proactively engage workload owners to review their sites, groups, and teams on a regular basis. And what they are reviewing is who has access to what in order to validate that only the right people can actually see your corporate data. By using this feature, you're actually making the owners accountable for their content. So you're delegating responsibility from IT teams to owners who actually have more operational insight. For example, your administrator doesn't really have to know if somebody should be in the team or group, or if that externally shared file should remain shared, and so on. You're also enforcing compliance and therefore reducing risk surface area. And last but not the least, you have a written proof of the owner's accountability, and you can see a detailed overview of the progress. And why would you even want to do that? Let me just give you one short example. If you are now, let's say, collaborating with a lot of external vendors, it's quite easy to invite them in. But once that project is over and the access you granted can simply be forgotten, and that could potentially lead to some security issues in your organizations. And therefore, if you enable this regular access reviews, you are keeping your environment much, much more secure. So let's go ahead and see what we have updated in version 20. So we made access reviews even more customizable to fit your needs perfectly. So now you can decide on who are the accountable people in your organizations who will receive tasks. So basically how it goes, the people you choose will receive emails saying that they need to review a certain site, team, or group where they are the owners. And now you can select all these groups of people you are seeing on the screen. And why is this actually important? Previously, you only had the option to manually exclude specific people from the review process. For example, if your CEO is an owner of a workload, but you do not want him or her to get the task, you could have excluded it one person. But now you can combine that with these advanced options, and you can easily exclude different user types in bulk, and therefore ensure that only the right people get the task. All right, and now before we move on to provisioning, which is our biggest update of this release, let's just briefly identify what are actually the common reasons that companies even consider creating some governance policies right at the beginning of Workspace's lifecycle. So every IT manager, CTO, collaboration manager working with these modern workspaces is obviously striving to maintain the environment clean, make sure users are focused and productive. And once your organization has made an investment in this technology, it's quite natural that you want to drive adoption and you want people to basically use it. And that's when you enable self-service so that users can create teams and groups as they want, which is great in the beginning to increase the adoption I mentioned. But if it's uncontrolled and not properly governed, that often leads to chaos really fast. So cluttered environment actually decreases your users' productivity, and that's something you want to avoid. And this has obviously especially became a problem in the COVID-19 pandemic times when a lot of companies switched to remote work without actually having the proper time to prepare, and the implementation of Microsoft Teams and other Microsoft 365 services was very fast, and if it's not governed correctly, it led to this uncontrolled sprawl and nobody even knowing what these newly created workspaces are actually needed. So the ideal use case here would be to let your user have the freedom, which drives the adoption, but maintain full control on your environment at the same time. And that can actually be done if you focus on creating a simple and sustainable process right at the beginning, at the time when you're creating new workloads. And let's now just move on to how the workload lifecycle actually looks like in practice. And to clarify, when I say workload, I'm talking either about Microsoft Team, SharePoint site, or Microsoft 365 group. And for the purpose of this presentation, let's talk about an imaginary Microsoft team that your users are creating for your company's team building this summer. Obviously, its life cycle starts with the creation, which is then followed by usage and hopefully proper management. However, after this event is over, sooner or later, this team becomes inactive, and that leads to what we call an end of life. Here, you obviously need to decide what to do with it, archive or delete the team. But today, let's go back to the beginning because our main focus will be the creation of new artifacts in your environment. Let's see how you can keep that phase completely in your control and avoid the sprawl of the workloads. So this has finally led us to the biggest update of version 20, the provisioning feature. So the main idea here, the main idea of actually implementing workspace provisioning and taking control over the process of creating new workspaces in your environment is to, once again, I told this many times, but to prevent the sprawl, but without sacrificing the adoption. And that all can be done by following the process you can see on this infographic. So this is how it goes. User sends a request for a new workspace, preferably based on some predefined templates. Then you enforce an approval process for that new artifact. So basically, you need to decide whether you'd like to, for example, have private teams to be automatically approved, or to have single or multi-stage approvals for those teams that are public. And only then it gets created and becomes a part of your environment. And by doing so, you're actually increasing overall workspace security. You can also integrate access reviews we just talked about, as well as policy enforcement automation, meaning you can define whether to have minimum 2 owners of that new artifact or maximum number of owners and so on. So you're doing that straight from the beginning, which helps in the rest of the life cycle of that team. You're also optimizing collaboration, and once again, you are taking off all that pressure from your IT teams. And that's exactly what we aim to do with the biggest update of our release, the provisioning feature. So without further ado, I would like to ask Hrvoje to go ahead and tell us a bit more about the provisioning solution.
Yeah, thank you, Alexandra. So yeah, let me tell you a bit about our provisioning and process, how it looks like. So our main motivation behind this is to allow our users to drive their adoption of Teams in this first version and Microsoft 365 in global. And it's by empowering your users to do most of the work while taking the load of your IT departments. So our story begins with the first step. Yeah, everything starts. So the first thing that your IT admin or your SysKit Point administrator needs to do is to create a template. And you can think of a template as a set of these governance rules, this set of access reviews policies that we were talking about, or that Alexander talked about before, and just putting it into one, let's say, entity, and then you create a template in SysKit Point. In this first version, we support only Microsoft Teams, but hopefully in the fall, we are also adding support for the SharePoint sites, Microsoft 365 groups, and Yammer communities. So, and this is the first step of this journey that we're going to take. The second step, of course, is allowing your users to use these templates and to send a request. So the first step is done inside of the SysKit Point application, but the second step, and we're going to see second, third, and fourth, are done in our Microsoft Teams companion app. So SysKit Point, when you install a new version of SysKit Point, you're going to be able to deploy a Microsoft Teams application and then use provisioning from there. And the main reason why we decided to go with this flow is to allow users to function in an environment that they are familiar with. So after this COVID situation, the teams have exploded, so they're everywhere, and people got used to them. And so we decided that it's the best way to do that is to give users a native experience of Microsoft Teams. And later on in the demo, we're going to show that our Microsoft Teams application looks like any other Microsoft Teams application, and you're it's pretty easy to use and self-explanatory, I would say. But yeah, so your user and your end user send a request that they want a new team to be provisioned for them to do their job. And then you go into the third step, and this is, I would say, the most important part of this whole process is the approval. So why is approval is important, as Alexander mentioned, to stop the sprawl. So you need to have some kind of accountability for the things that you do, and that usually involves your superior or if IT admin overview to see the situation. And our solution going to help you with that because we create the team automatically for you if you click approve, or we stop the creation part if you click reject. So if you have approval automatically set up in such a way, your users can have a new team ready in a couple of minutes. But if you have approval, then it's going to take a couple of minutes until the last stage of approval finishes. Then you're going to have your team created inside of your Microsoft 365. But let's not forget about the fifth part, and this is the in the life cycle graph that we saw earlier. It's the thing that happens after the provisioning. So the first step 2, 3, and 4 are provisioning, but this fifth step where we apply these different policies to your workloads, and this is most important part because this is going to allow you to track and see how your workloads are behaving and how you can maybe leverage your governance policies on them. So without further ado, let's jump into demo. And to do this demo, Alexandra and I are going to switch, are going to have two different roles. I'm going to put on my IT administrator shoes, and Alexandra is going to be a user trying to have a team created. So let's see how it works in action. So I first need to go to my SysKit Point. So I'm just gonna log into it. Yep. I need to log in. It's gonna take a while. So this is our new version, and let's jump right into our governance part of the settings, and then we're gonna notice that we have two new sections. So we have provisioning and approval processes. So let's start with provisioning. Here you see all the different templates that you get when you install the application by default. So by default, we ship three different templates for Microsoft Teams, but we urge our users to develop their own templates because these are just there to showcase our capabilities. Each organization, I believe, have a different set of governance policies that they wish to follow. So this is something to note. And here you'll also see this Microsoft Teams app first time shown and mentioned. So I have my environment already set up, so I can So I don't have to deploy it, but when you first come to this screen, you're gonna see here deploy Microsoft Teams app. You click on it, and we deploy the Microsoft Teams companion app to your app catalog, and then everybody can install it if they wish. Also, if you wish to push this application to each user, you can set it up in the Microsoft Teams Admin Center using global policies. But now let's see how it looks if me as an admin try to create a new template. So Alexandra already gave us a great idea. We're going to use Teams team building event as a template. So for each team building event, I want to have a separate team, for example. So yeah, some description I cannot spell. That's okay. Chrome knows better than me. And here we come to the first thing that I want to clarify a bit in our template. So we are actually leveraging Microsoft Teams templates to create the content for us. So you can think of it in a way that Microsoft Teams templates have the content of the team, and then the SysKit Point template gives you this governance part of the equation. So in this template, we're going to be able to clarify what our settings are going to be, what our governance policies be. But using Microsoft Teams template, you're going to be able to configure your channels, apps, tabs of the newly created Microsoft Teams. And the other part of it is if our customers or if users are already have set up Microsoft Teams templates in their environment, they can leverage them and use them here to a great extent. So you can all learn, of course, more on this link here. I'm going to leave it empty for this because I don't have any kind of special need for team building event. And then I jump into my privacy. So I'm going to use it as a public because I want everybody to be able to go to the team building, of course, and I'm not going to let my users decide on it. So this is a capability of SysKit Point to give you an option for you as an admin to specify for users what they can and cannot do. And we're going to see later on when Alexandra tries to request a team how it looks. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to want this new Teams building event to be in my global address list because I want to maybe announce something to everybody. And then I want to have a set of owners. So I'm going to just click here, requester, custom. I'm just gonna, because this is some kind of HR, so Adele is gonna be here. So Adele is my HR lead, and I want her to be an owner of every HR-led team. For example, this is my use case. This is how we set up my Contoso environment. And then I'm not gonna allow my end users to add additional owners at the beginning. So this is, I want this to have this kind of structure, and then I'm gonna allow every user of this template to set up members.
I'm sorry, Kerwin, perhaps you should add Eva as well as an owner here.
Oh, okay, let's add Eva as an admin.
Great.
Yeah, next. And then we come to this governance part. So the first thing is I have a team name. So for example, I'm gonna use a prefix, team building. I'm going to use team building, and then I'm not going to use any suffix. I'm just going to use prefix, and then I need to set up my approval process. So by default, we ship with a couple of these, more than a couple of different approval processes, but I'm just going to create a new one. And I want that approval to be HR approval, and it's going to be a one-stage approval for me. But if you wish, you could set up a multi-stage approval. So for example, the best case scenario is I first want to have my manager to approve my request, and then I want it to go to the IT administrator for IT administrator person to approve my process, and in that way I have a two-stage approval process. But in this, I'm just going to use HR approval, and I'm going to set it up in a similar way as I did the owners. So Adele, and then Eva as well. My admin account is going to be the one that I'm going to need to approve this. I'm just going to click confirm. This is going to create me a new HR approval process. It's going to take a second. and it's here. It's set up for me. And then I need to set up governance policies. And these governance policies, as we talked before, are really important because these are the things that can that's going to allow me to have more faith in my environment going forward, that there is not sprawl or something like that. So here I'm going to set access reviews. I want it to be checked for external sharing because I do not want anything from my team buildings to be shared. I want to have a minimum of 2 owners. That's a minimum for me. I do not have any specific need to limit the number of owners, for example, for this. And then here I need to have an orphan resources be checked from time to time so that somebody is actually responsible for this content that I do have here. I'm going to click confirm. Everything looks good. And I'm going to create a template. So a template is created here. As you can see, there are no workloads created with it. But let's see if Alexandra is going to be able to get her team that she wants. So Alexandra, do you want to try and
Yes.
get a new team?
Oh, let me just share my screen with you now. Just give it a sec to load. All right, as I told you, I will now jump into the shoes of your end users who are actually trying to request a new team for this summer's team building. So I open my Microsoft Teams like I do every day I come to work, and I see something new happening here. So I have a new app that has been, I'm sorry, are you guys seeing my screen just to check briefly something?
We can see it.
Yeah, all righty. Just give me a sec. Perfect. Okay, so I open my Microsoft Teams and I see a new app that this has been pinned for me by my administrator. So basically, this is just a welcome screen saying, welcome to SysKit Point Teams app. And this is what the interface looks like. So if I want to create a new team, I just go ahead and click on the only button we have on the screen to create a new request. And then I can select a template. That's the first step I get here. So you can see that I already have this new template that Hrva just created. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. And then I need to decide on a few things about this team. So what kind of a team will this be? This value has actually been predefined by Hrva, so I cannot make it private. And you can see this information here, which will be stated to our users. So you cannot do basically anything else than click on public and proceed with the template name. So I'm just going to go ahead and write team building 2021, travel arrangements, whatever you would like to discuss with your teammates. Just choose a description. And here you can see that we have team owners. So my name is Kork now. So I'm here because Hrva checked that the requester will automatically be put as a team owner, and you have Eva and Adele that were selected by Hrva. What I should do here, I need to add some members I wish. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a few members here, whichever you would like, and go ahead and click request a team. So now you can see that this list has changed. I have my new request right here. You can see that it's a request that has been sent. Its status is awaiting approval. You can see request date. Obviously, it was requested by me, but I can also see who my approvers are here. So I can call them and like ask them what's happening now with my team. So another thing you can see is a few more details about it. And obviously, if you change your mind, you do not want to send this request, you can go ahead and cancel it right away. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to see if Hrva will be approving or rejecting my new team. So let's go back to Hrva.
Okay, let's start by sharing my screen. Yeah. I believe everybody see it. So the first thing, here I am in my Teams application, having collaboration with my hard workers and activity. I'm going to see here that Kork Blanc has requested a new team in activity feed. I'm going to click on it, and I see here that this is the team that Alexandra requested. So I can see who is being sent to. It's been sent to Eva, that's me and as admin, and Adele, which is our HR lead. It was requested a minute ago. What was the provisioning template? And who will be the owners and who will be the members. As you can see, the Eva that was in members got into owners. So you can see we do that for you automatically. So you get this idea. So I can approve or reject this team. I'm going to approve it just to see what happens. I'm not going to deny it. So let's say it looks good. And I'm going to click confirm. So, and that's it. And so here we have it. It's here on my approved, and these are other requests that I have not been I have not not yet gave my response to, but you see. But on the other hand, Alexander just received a notification that the approval has been approved, or that request has been approved, and now we're going to wait for our application to create a Microsoft Teams. While we wait for that, I would like to show you how it looks inside of the SysKit Point. So I'm going to go here to the home, I'm going to go to the governance part, and go here to the provisioning part. As we see here, the team building is this new team is in the provisioning status, but I see here that my team is already created and I've been added to it. So as you can see here, here is a newly created team. And if we go here to teams, and then it's going to be easy to spot. If we go here to manage a team, we're going to say that Eva Gorkinadel has been added as owners, and we have this description and stuff like that. So the thing is still in provisioning, but if we refresh this report, we're going to see it's a provision completed, and the next time the SysKit Point picks it up, it's going to be assigned all these different governance policies that we've been talking about. And basically, this is how our provisioning jump into my presentation, provisioning functions inside of the SysKit Point. So this is a great time to have our Q&A. So Patrick, do we have any kind of questions for us?
Thank you both for the awesome presentation. So yeah, now let's take a look on the questions that we received. As a kind reminder to everyone, please send your questions and we can go through them right now. So yeah, Hervé, we have one question regarding the migration to the cloud, and is asking how would be that process? How possibly easy, or how would be the ideal steps in that migration?
So the migration itself has a lot of steps. So the main part is going to be migrating the database and audit logs, which can take some time. So usually we're going to send instructions on how to do that, and then we're going to manually transfer all these different settings that we have there. So it's definitely a process we're going to help you with, because it's not that easy, and it takes time because of the uploading data to the Azure from your on-premises.
Okay, thank you, Hervé. So I thank you, Pritesh, for the question. So yeah, as also Hervé mentioned, we will help you also with your customer success manager and also your sales manager that is working closely with you, or our support team will provide all the assistance that you need to move forward to the cloud app. Another question that we have, it's regarding the provisioning. So it's a question if it would be possible for the user to decide which sensitivity label they want to use for a specific team or group.
So let me jump into this one, Alexandra. So in this version, no, unfortunately, but we are looking to add it in the fall version, in the September, October of this year. We're looking to add that functionality.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Valdemar. So yeah, it's on our roadmap, and we will be updating you accordingly. Next question is from Chris. Thank you for the question. So is it possible to stop people from creating teams, sites, channels outside of the SysKit application?
So yes, there is an option to stop the self-service completely. So you go to the, I believe, Microsoft 365 groups, and then you stop the option for users to create Microsoft 365 groups, and that's going to stop the capability of users to create it outside of the SysKit Point, and SysKit Point provisioning process will still work. So you can then be sure that the only way to create new workloads is through the SysKit Point application.
Okay, thank you. The next question that we have is Roger asked us, I'm not sure if I fully understood, but is there a possibility to in-source previously created teams? So basically, yeah, if you know.
I think I know the use case, and it's something that is definitely on our roadmap, and we are looking into ways to connect our provisioning part with the previously created team. So currently, the only way to do it is to go manually through every site. You as an admin need to do that, but we're looking into ways to just give your owners a chance to do that as well. So yeah, it's on our roadmap. I would say is the best answer to that question.
Yeah, thank you again, Roger, for the question. Also, we have a question by Ba. Can they resubmit Teams request if it gets rejected?
Yes, they can create a new one, and then you're going to be able to reject it. Or so if you reject one request, it goes to we delete it, but they can try to create a new one.
Okay. All right. So we have a very nice comment by Stefan that is congratulating us for the provisioning application. It looks very good, and asking about the license. So yeah, for that, please reach out to sales, and we'll be glad to help you with additional information on this new feature and how you can enable within your SysKit Point application. We also have another question by Stefan. So there are some plans to extend provisioning for other containers besides Teams as well. Example, SharePoint online sites, communication sites, non-teamified SPO sites, Yammer groups.
Yeah, yes to everything. Yeah, so that's in our plans to support the SharePoint Online, Microsoft 365 groups, and Yammer communities. That's on our roadmap.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you again once again for the questions. So great questions, everyone. Yeah, we're going to give a few more minutes if there would be any additional questions, and so we can proceed. Maybe usually question that we get, maybe Alexandra, if you could help, is it possible to tailor the Microsoft Teams app according to their company branding?
Actually, yeah, we did get that a lot during our testing phase. So a lot of companies ask if they can do that. And you definitely can. It cannot be done through SysKit Point interface, but we can definitely help you. Just give us a call. We'll assist you and show you how you can brand it yourself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alexandra. Okay. Okay, I believe that's all for today, as we don't have any more questions. But again, if anything comes to mind after this session, you can always reach out to us at sales@syskit.com. So thank you all for joining us. And yeah, as a reminder, everyone who registered for this event will receive a recording of the session within a few days. And it was a pleasure having you all here, and see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.